Hi everyone, it's me, Allie. I am a 10th grade high school chemistry teacher, and I just wanted to talk to you about how you can read more, my tips for reading more. Last year in 2020 was a strange reading year for me. I read 100 books in a year, and part of that was because I was home so much. But if you've been following me for a while, you know I have a young son, and a lot of people think it's strange that I can read so much. Part of that is that I don't watch much television when he's home. If I'm trying to do something while he's playing, it's usually reading. So I just wanted to give you a couple of tips for how to read more as a teacher. And one of the things I would like to get out of the way is that I heavily dislike nonfiction. I read for entertainment purposes, not for educational purposes. If I want to learn something new, I might read like articles on the internet, or mostly I watch documentaries, but I am trying to read more nonfiction and get into that. I actually have a stack of nonfiction here that I actually was supposed to be. So this shelf behind me is my to read shelf. And so I got this for Christmas 2020, and I only made it to page 74 in this huge book, and this is volume 1, and I really want to read it, but it's really hard for me to get into nonfiction. And what I did for Becoming, Michelle Obama's book, which I had on my shelf also for a very long time, and what finally got me to read it and finish it was getting the audiobook instead. And so I think what will help many of you, as it helped me, is here's another one that I'm really enjoying. Actually, I have made it farther than this. I have about 2 hours left of the audiobook. Is following along with the audiobook, because it just helps me focus on what I'm reading. So this book I'm currently reading right now, I kind of put Obama on hold, and then these are 3 more books that I'm interested in reading, but they are nonfiction. It's hard, like I said, it's hard for me to read. So Save the Cat Writes a Novel, because one day I would like to write the great American novel, like everyone. The Starch Solution for, I'm now eating more plant-based, so there's a starch solution for that, like how to help you eat enough while eating plant-based. And I think there's also a bit about using the starch solution to lose weight or something, I don't know. And then How to Raise an Adult is another book I'm very interested in, but I've had it for a while, and I think I've read the prologue, because I'm just not that into nonfiction. It's never anything I want to sink my teeth into. So again, tip number 1 for nonfiction: audiobooks. And that's actually my next tip is, if that turned you off thinking about audiobooks, to increase your reading, you really should be reading across all formats. So audiobooks, regular books, ebooks. Ebooks and audiobooks I think are really awesome because you no longer have to cart around whatever book you're reading. And I actually no longer read just one book at a time. I usually have one physical book I'm reading and one audiobook I'm listening to, and maybe one ebook that I'm reading, and then that allows me to switch between books if I'm not feeling something, or wherever I'm at, if I have an extra 15 minutes and I'm waiting for something, I can either listen or read on my phone, and then that's also helping to increase my reading. Now this year I'm not on pace to hit 100 books again. I'm reading about 5 books a month, so a little over a book a week, and I do think that's largely due to the fact that I'm able to switch books out a lot. Another tip I have for you is to find a reading buddy. So my husband and I, last year during the pandemic, decided to buddy read, and we picked 2 books a month. So I picked a book and my husband picked a book. And then when school started last year, it was just too much for me. I was like, I don't know if I can handle reading at all. So we went down to 1 book, and we rotated every other month who got to pick the book. And we're still reading 1 book a month, but I'm picking all of the books now because he's defaulted to my reading taste, which tends to be a little bit more sci-fi and fantasy related, although he does really enjoy fantasy. So I do tend to pick books that are more that I know that he will like and that I probably will like for the two of us to read. And then he also almost solely listens to books. So he prefers to listen to really long books because he feels like he's getting more for his money. So yeah, in that respect, I'm sure everyone for audiobook listening has heard of Audible. So we do have an Audible service. We share the service, so we both listen. And then on my device, my actual phone that I listen through most of the time, there's a setting you can turn off so that it doesn't sync with the cloud, I guess. So I download it and just listen to it on my phone. And that way when we're listening at the same time, we're not messing up each other's listening. So that's a tip if you're trying to listen to a book with someone else. I also have Scribd, which I do pay for to listen. And I got that over 2020 summer so I could listen to more books than just what my one book a month was with Scribd or with Audible. And I really like that because then if I start a book and I don't like it, I don't feel like, oh man, I just wasted my Audible credit. Even though I think it is $10 a month, but I can cycle through a lot of stuff, which is nice. And I don't mind paying for it. I know that's not possible for some people. So if you want to listen to audiobooks, you can go to the library and get discs, which there aren't as many things to put a disc in these days. So not all, my laptop that I'm filming on right now doesn't have a disc player. My car does. So I could listen in the car if I went to the library. And that's what my husband and I used to do on road trips, is we would go to the library, pick a book that we wanted to listen to together, and then we'd listen to it on the drive. And then also Libby, which connects to your local library branch, and then you can borrow audiobooks through them, which is pretty cool. And then I also have all these services, Kindle Unlimited, because I have Prime, so it's not, I think it might be $10 a month as well. But like I said, I read a lot. So for me, it is actually cheaper to have some of these services than to buy a book every time I want to read something. And our library currently is not fully open, and wait lists for books are really long. And I'm just in the position right now, I know I'm very privileged that I can access all the books that I want to access. I'm very lucky. I do, because I am a teacher, I can check out books from the high school, but I feel bad about taking a book away from a student. So I've never done that, but I can do that. So if you are a high school teacher and you're looking maybe for more books to connect with your students to read, I would suggest checking out your library. They might have extra copies of things, and then you won't feel so bad about potentially removing a book from a student's grip. And then I don't know what tip I'm on, 3, 4. I think it's 4. I would also suggest Book of the Month Club. So none of this is sponsored. I'm not big enough for any sponsorships. So this is all my true feelings about reading. I really enjoy Book of the Month Club because I'm able to pick something that's curated and is supposed to be really good. I've never read a book from Book of the Month that I hated. And they only have a 3 system. It's hate it, liked it, loved it. I have had some like it's and I've had some love it's. But what I like about it is that a lot of times I don't know about the books that are in Book of the Month. And so it gives me something new to read. And if I'm making a different goal for myself, I really, in 2020, I was really trying to branch out of my comfort zone in what I was reading. So I was able to go, okay, I'm going to read whatever the thriller is this month, or I'm going to read whatever the romance book is this month. And it doesn't always work out. You can see kind of behind me, these 3 books are Book of the Month Club books, and I haven't kept up with it. And then this one is currently reading. This was 2 months ago, a month ago. This is not a Book of the Month Club book. This was a Amazon purchase, probably 2 years ago. Anyway, I do like the idea of having those. And then if I just found out there's a woman I work with who's also in Book of the Month Club, and we can, if we want, pick the same book and talk about it. Or we can not pick the same book and then talk about why we picked the book. I don't know, just brings us together a little bit, which I like. And then I also, so my last kind of tip, I guess, so this is like a half tip. Let's see if it's here. Yeah, so I have, this is like my home office. My husband gets a whole room, and then I have the whole house, really. So then this little area is just like my office stuff, if you care to know. So like this is random miscellaneous stuff that still it needs to go to its home. These are like all my pens for anything that I would want pens for. So essentially stuff that's mine and not my son's. And then all the way over there is like tools. My husband cleaned up most recently, and so that's why there's colored pencils in there. And then the very bottom of our bookshelves are for my son, and so we have books on the very bottom. This is just like activities and stuff. It's not very organized, so sorry about that. And then right behind me is like his art supplies stuff, which you would think, art supply, they're not that far, but my husband, doesn't matter. He knows it's a bookshelf. That's as far as he can get. Anyway, so I have a reading journal, and had heard that reading journals were really helpful, and I did really enjoy it when I started it. So I think if you are trying to get into reading and you tie it to something else, that's another thing. Tie it to something else that you enjoy. Like I was running, and I was really struggling with listening to music and running, and then I switched to listening to books and running, and that for some reason really helped. So I also was really into, I like the idea of journaling, but I was having trouble because I used to journal just my thoughts and feelings and stuff, and I haven't really done that. But I was like, you know what, I want to, since I'm reading so much and I'm not writing any reviews anywhere, maybe I'll write my own private review, or like my feelings, because I don't annotate books. Like I am annotating this nonfiction, Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting? I am annotating this, but by annotating I mean like I'm underlining things I'm finding interesting as I'm listening to it, and like trying to be a little more active. But it's not, I'm not the type of person that goes back and looks at my annotations. I mean, I guess it might be interesting if I loan this to somebody, if they can see like what my thoughts were for what, like the things that stuck out to me. I don't know. Anyway, but this is just for me. So I have like a TBR list. So this was October 2020. What I wanted to read, my star rating, and then like, yeah, October of 2020, I read 16 books. And then I just have little blurbs. So it was The Hating Game, I reread it. And I was kind of just like a little blurb after each time I read a book, and that worked okay. And then I started, where is this at? Here's November. In November of 2020, I read 22 books. And honestly, it was because I was listening while I was running, listening to books while I was cleaning the house. I had different ebooks that I could read on my Kindle app on my phone, or the Scribd app, while, I was putting my son to bed. If it was taking a long time and he was laying there and not actively needing attention, or he was at gymnastics, I could listen, or read however I wanted to read at the time. So like all of my free time in 2020 was reading. So that's why I was reading so much. It was also, I have anxiety, which I've talked about before, and reading for me is an escape, and it always has been. I used to also, when I was younger, be a writer. I wrote a lot of poetry and short stories, and I love the idea of maybe doing that again. So my idea with this was also to get my ideas on paper in any way that they came, and then maybe one day I could revisit and turn my thoughts and like tweak stories just as like a practice, not because I want to. I mean, it'd be cool to have a book published with my name on it, but I don't. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Anyway, so I was just kind of like writing my thoughts down, and then at some point I changed it up a little bit. Oh, I did a wrap up, started including that, like what was my favorite book, where did I feel like I read the most? In December of 2020, I read 6 books. My goal was 5. So it slowed down a little bit there, even with having 2 weeks off. And so I wrote a blurb, and then I tried to give myself, figure out what my star ranking was, because I never really thought about it before. And then I started the Stormlight Archive, and so I was like, well, this is a lot of people. I need to keep track of that. And that didn't last very long, because this started to turn into work rather than enjoyment. So I guess that was a long, convoluted way to say, like, if you're doing something that's not working for you and reading feels like work, stop whatever it is. So if reading and writing down your thoughts sounds like an enjoyable time, do that. If writing down your thoughts feels not enjoyable, don't do it. If having a Goodreads account and communicating with people about the books you're reading excites you, do that. But don't make reading, try not to do anything that's going to make you hate reading, I guess, really. So like for me, I loved reading when I was younger, but I hated being told what to read. So in high school, when we were told to read The Scarlet Letter, and which I love the story of The Scarlet Letter, I have never read the book. It was really hard for me to get into, and being told to read it, I just didn't do it. I SparkNoted it. And I've told my kids that at school, like, I don't think they've read The Scarlet Letter, but I've talked to some of my kids about it. Just if you are not enjoying what you're reading or being told what to read, and like for me, that was hard. It's like, this is for enjoyment. Why are you telling me to read this? Like, my senior year, I had a teacher an English teacher who let us pick books based on a theme. She'd be like, okay, here's a theme. Pick one of these 10 books. And she had read all 10 of them. And so she could, have conversations with us about it. But because it was all under a same theme, we all did the same assignments just based on the book that we chose. And then we were put into groups based on the books that we chose. And I really enjoyed that more than all of us being told to read Fahrenheit 451, which I did read and really loved. Anyway, this is a long, convoluted discussion about books. So I love reading. I don't know if you love reading. I'm assuming you do if you're here. So I hope some of this was helpful. I apologize for the quality of the camera. It's just my school laptop that I'm filming on because my son is playing a game on my phone. He was diagnosed this morning with hand, foot, and mouth disease. So I am sanitize everything he's touching and staying at home with him today. So that's how I was able to make this video. Anyway, hope that was helpful, and I'll see you guys soon, hopefully, if school ever calms down. So have a great day.